Thank you for clicking on our video. This is Taking on the Thames. Today we're going to be trying something a little bit different. We're not going to be fishing for pike in our spot today. Instead, I've made up some nice big ground bait balls here with loads of casters, pellets and maggots in, with some halibut pellet ground bait, and over the top of them I'm going to be fishing halibut pellets on the big boy rod, in hope that now that the weather's cooled down a little bit, that we might hook into some chub, maybe some nice barbel. Who knows what's going on out there. But today the river has definitely got the fastest flow that it's had so far since I've been fishing this year. So I'm back in my normal spot because we know the fact that it's nice and calm in this area here. And that's a good thing, because at the end of the day the fish don't want to be sitting there in high flow all the time because they'll just get exhausted. So nice little bays like this where it gets nice and calm is the ideal place for any big old barbel to come and chill out. Whether they have or not, who knows, but we're going to try our best today in getting either a barbel or a chub. And of course we will be fishing back out on the maggots on the feeder rod. But first things first, I want to chuck a few of these balls out, and rather than just locating it into one tight area, I'm going to literally do like a line in front of me here so I can fish both rods over the top of the ground bait. So with no further ado, let's start lobbing some of this out. Now I've made quite a few of these balls up so I can top it back up a little bit later, but for now I'm literally just going to chuck 3 out there. Maybe 4, because I didn't really get that in the very spot that I wanted. Much better. So now hopefully once they dissolve they're all going to start flowing down here slowly and just give me a nice carpet of bait to fish over. So let me just grab this big rod. Basically the same kind of setup that I use for the pike, except that instead of having a wire trace, I've got this braided trace on, or hook link rather, with a pretty hefty size 2 hook on here. But we're not messing about. We're not going to, you know what I mean? We don't want to be getting pestered by tiny chub or tiny roach if there's any about, because we know that they've been a bit scarce this year. Just got a hair rig with a halibut pellet and a piece of fake corn on there on an inline lead, so it's gonna run. It's nice and free to run with a shock bead on the end of it and an anti-tangle sleeve. I'm gonna chuck this out in the same area that I would usually do for the pike, just off the edge of the flow, so we're not going out crazy far. I might just want to go a little bit further than that. Because I don't want that, I'm going crazy far because I don't want the flow to pick it up. That was better. And then I'll just drop it down there, and I could feel the bottom as I dropped it down, and it does feel quite solid, so that's a good sign. We're not getting stuck in any weed or anything. You can see leaves, branches and all sorts are falling off just from this tree that's by me here. So we are getting a lot of debris in the water now, because, well, autumn is on the way. So really hope if I turn that on, I guess. I just hope that we're not going to get bothered by debris bumping into the line every 2 minutes. Might just readjust the volume on that a bit. Fingers crossed that will go tearing off. And of course, we have got our trusty old feeder rod, which will we be chucking this out on some maggots. Our friend old Rodney the Robin has already paid us a visit a couple of times today. I've gone back to using white maggots. The bronze maggots, I don't know, they just, I hated for a start the way that it just stained my fingers like I'd smoked 17 million cigarettes. But I also, I don't know, maybe that was one of the reasons why we hadn't been as successful as we have been in this spot in the past. Could be silliest thing like that, you know. Probably isn't, it's probably more to do with the change in the weather. Start off with 3 maggots, because why not? Feeling brave today. Now it could be a case that we might have overdone it with the feed, but it's early in the session, so at the end of the day, if we do get into anything like a decent chub or a decent barbel, or even if it just gets later on in the session, I'll just start topping that swim back up with even more. Because like I said, the river is flowing quite a lot today, so chances are that it is possible that the ground bait is just going to get washed away at some point once it dissolves down. There's no real big particles in the ground bait. There's only real small 2 mil pellets, casters and maggots. The rest is just a fine ground bait, so all we can do is hope, my friends. One beat, that's going to probably be debris. We're going to probably get that throughout the day. Just an odd beat here and there. Sticks and leaves bumping into the line. It is a pleasant day, really, to be honest with you. The sky's pretty clear. It's just all week we've had rain constantly. Getting the famous twitchy bites. The old Rodney bluttering about. Set you up a table and everything, Rodney. So I ain't got to keep chucking you maggots every 2 minutes. Probably camera shy. What do we think first fish is going to be, guys? Write it down in the comments right now. No cheating, don't skip forward. You're going to be a Percy perch, a chub. Be nice if it was a roach. 2 huge herons just flown past me there. Of course, it's probably going to start off slow, hopefully pick up a little bit. I've had some twitchy bites already, so I'm not going to leave it too long before I check it, just to make sure the maggots haven't all been stripped off. But I mean, what we really want today is this big boy rod to go off. A nice pellet on there. I would expect it to be a chub or a barbel. Of course, there's always a chance it could be a bream. It's a pretty big pellet, 14 mil. Sort of your standard pop-up size. It would certainly be a shock if we got a carp on it. Be honest with you, it'd be a shock if we got anything on it. Twitchy bites in the wind. The old tip's weighing about a good one a day. Let's give it a couple more minutes, see if we get any more twitches. If not, I'll check to see if our maggots have been stripped off the hook or not. Couple of twitches there again. Probably the typical tiny stuff that's out there. Right, let's give it a check because we've had a fair few twitches. And yet our maggots are gone. So there's stuff out there, it might be that it's just too small to get 3 maggots in their face. So we'll stick to 2 for a minute. And we'll see how that goes. Using different hooks again today. And there's a little bit of a struggle to get the maggots on, to be honest. Size 14, so they're not as big as the size 12 that we've been using. For this very reason, these tiny twitchy bites, I want to try and sort of fish them out the way first. Still got maggots in the feeder. And then maybe later I might knock it back up to our size 12. Just depends on how well the fishing starts going. Rodney! There's an entire table of maggots set out there for you, bro. And you're still searching around on the floor to see if there's any on there. I mean, it's slow today, but at least we're not sitting there trying to catch a bait for the pike rod. At least that's out there as well, doing something. Just sitting in the darkness, not being touched, but at least it's sitting out there. Not going to catch any fish not sitting out there, is it? Did have a small twitch there. I would feel the spider crawls down off the rim of my hat. I would feel a lot more confident once I get this first fish in. Shouldn't say things like once I get the first fish in, really, should I? That could jinx it.
Many hours later.
Might have a fish. Yoinkus. First fish of the day. A chub. That has took so long to get this, and now I'm in two minds with it being so quiet whether or not to keep this guy and stick him on the big boy rod in case of getting a pike or something like that, and then maybe using the pellets when we're a bit more successful on the old maggots. But very surprised it's taken this long to hook into a fish, and it's just a standard juvenile chub. It's what we've usually been getting, not even a perch. So fingers crossed that now things might pick up a little bit and we start banging into some perch or something. Gonna swap our hook link for a wire trace, and that will be it. Jobs are good, and we'll stick this chub on the end, sticking to the inline lead, which has done us okay in the past with the pike and whatnot. Still, of course, kind of getting used to using these circle hooks. This is only going to be the second time that I've gone for the circle hook setup rather than a treble hook. So hopefully, if we get a take, we manage to hook them in the scissors again like we did before. So far it's 100% success rate. What would be really nice, I mean, that chub is a little bit too big really for a perch, but in the winter I might get myself some sprats or something, just to double our chances on getting a pike or a perch on a dead bait. rather than having something as big as that, because you kind of are just limiting yourself to pike really. Give myself a little bit there. Now let's hope that we can get a bit more success on the maggots now. This is exactly why we're getting nothing but twitchy little bites, and I can't even show you that one because he's falling down the gap of the jetty. I can hear him rattling about in there. Oh, hang on. Your lucky day, mate. This is why they shouldn't make jetties with such big gaps between the boards, because this guy literally slipped off the hook and fell down the gap. He's just lucky he managed to find his way down the slope there. But look at it. I mean, this is why we're getting nothing but twitchy bites, twitchy bites, twitchy bites. It's another really juvenile chub, and I would have thought that by now these guys would have scarpered and we would have been left with stuff that's, you know, a bit more substantial. But the trouble we're having is because them guys are literally either just banging into my rod and giving me them small twitchy bites, or they're just stripping the maggots off without me having a chance to hook into them. That's one of the reasons why we're just not hooking into many fish. There could very well be better chub or perch down there, but when them guys strip your maggots the second that they hit the water, them other fish just aren't getting a chance to get involved. If of course them other fish are even down there, because I mean, apart from perch, our roach numbers have been terrible this year, really bad. So that's one species that has struggled for some reason or another, which is, you know, taking a big number off of the fish that we should be getting. We're not getting any bleak because, I mean, look at the size of what we've got here. We're sticking on 4 maggots at a time in hope to attract a half decent perch or better sized chub. So you're not going to get gudgeon or bleak, things like that. But like I say, it doesn't stop them greedy little chub from having a crack at it, and unfortunately most of the time what they're doing is just stripping the maggots off the hook. And I do not doubt for 1 minute, with the majority of the bites that we've been getting today, that there's even smaller chub out there. Doing exactly that, just pecking away, pecking away. The worst thing is it's taking so long to get a bite that's worthy of hitting. Again, just a massive wobbly bite. No bend, no nothing, just typical of a juvenile fish tearing at the maggots. We have got another juvenile chub. Really hard to explain why we're not getting any perch and we're just consistently getting these chub. But like I said earlier, this would explain why I'm getting so many twitchy bites, because chub are a real greedy species. And it don't matter how big they are, even smaller than this, they're still gonna consistently go to attack my bait. So we're slipping back. I mean, that's a perfect pike bait, but that's about it. So is this a learning experience for us today? Have we learnt today that when the river's up high and it's got a bit more of a flow to it, that the perch are just not going to play ball? Because that certainly seems to be the case. The only concerning thing about that now is, have I made a mistake from moving off the pellet onto a dead bait for the pike? Because if the perch aren't about, being a predator, are the pike going to be about? And would I have had more of a chance of getting a big chub than I have of getting a pike? But you know, that's one of the reasons, not to mention the fact that it's a challenge, is to just learn a little bit about river fishing and being, you know, consistently coming down pretty much to the same spot every time, so you can pick these things up for yourself. Because like I said earlier, quite often when you try and read up on things like this, you get a lot of contradicting information, you know, where some people tell you one thing and another person will tell you another thing. Sometimes you just have to try things out for yourself. But one thing is for certain, there has been a lack of perch today, and I think if we had perch today, we would have doubled the amount of fish easy. Because usually, in this spot anyway, the perch far outnumber the amount of chub that we get. So, could have been possible that we'd have even more than double the fish that we've had today. If only the perch decided to play ball. And well, if the roach made an appearance as well at any time, we could have tripled the amount of fish. Not even going to mention the bream. It's very rare that you'll hear an angler go on about the lack of bream. They're usually complaining about these sort of things. Rodney just nearly flew straight into the camera. But it would have been nice to have had some bream as well. One of the key things, if not the key thing about this river, is you don't know what you're going to get. You know, there's talks of carp. I haven't personally caught a carp out of here yet, but there's certainly a lot of carp anglers that you see coming down this area. I've seen video of people catching carp out of this area, just further upstream, on one of the main stretches. I've heard rumours of catfish coming out of this river. If you actually type in fish records for the River Thames, you'll see things like tench, sturgeon even. Imagine hooking a sturgeon out of here. That would be amazing. That would be some class content. But right now, we've got to just deal with these juvenile chub. And little Rodney sitting up there complaining because they ain't got no maggots. There you go, mate. No worries. Knock yourself out. Not literally, though. Don't get all tangled up on that rod and that, will you? You want some more? Yeah, that's it, you just perch there on my rod. Probably the only bleep it's going to get if you do. Oh, he goes back up in his tree.
One eternity later.
The old glasses will have to come off in a minute so I can actually see what's going on. Oh, have we? I think we've got something. It's a roach, at last, a roach. Or is it a hybrid? It might be a hybrid, actually. I believe it is a hybrid. of course. Where did that disappear to? A roach bream hybrid. You can tell the difference between these and just a pure roach because the fins have barely got any colour on them. These should be nice blood red. You can also tell by the sheer amount of slime that comes off of them, which is typical of a bream. And they're slightly deeper bodied than a normal roach, but not quite as thick as a normal roach as well. And like I said, the fins are very pale on all of them, and they're just extra slimy. We're slipping back. I would much prefer to have a full-on roach than a hybrid. One of the slightly concerning things about that is I think that now with that hybrid, it's probably equaled the number of hybrids to full-blown roach that we've had. So I mean, is there a possibility that a full-bred roach could be a thing that's becoming slightly endangered with the amount of hybrids we're getting? I mean, it's 50-50 right now on hybrid roach and bream to full-bred roach. The weird thing is even though we're getting these hybrid roach bream hybrids, rather, is we're not getting any bream. I mean, it's all well and good saying, hello Rodney, Jesus Christ, I thought you were going to come on my lap. It's all well and good saying I'd prefer to have a full-blown roach, but at least we've had some full-blown roach. We've had no bream whatsoever. So, at least it weren't a juvenile chub. We've still got loads of maggots in there. That was a reasonably quick bite. So let's hope that they are switching on a little bit now. Stretch. Sounds like the beginnings of when the Titanic was starting to go down. Just trying again to get it close to this tree if I can. I mean, I've hit that on the bottom there, and the amount of small fish that just jumped out when it hit the water was plentiful. So there's still loads of tiny stuff down there, which is just bizarre. Maybe it's because there are no perch around in the area that these tiny, what seem to be just chub, are just confident enough to be hanging around here. Whereas before, like I said, the perch seem to have been outnumbering the chub. Could be that with that many perch in the area, just pushes them smaller chub away. But because today they're not in the area, for whatever reason, the smaller chub are. Because again, now, small twitchy bites, non-stop. Tiny fish actually leaping out of the water when the feeder hits it. What I'm gonna make sure I do is, as soon as these twitchy bites die off, is just bring it in and make sure that I've still got some bait on there. Maybe a bit of sweet corn is the way to go, but then you're definitely eliminating the perch, and that's just not really something that I want to do. Could be in again here. What we got? Back on the juvenile chub again. These are the things that are causing me that problem, these tiny juvenile chub. And like I said, I think it's because of the lack of perch that are around, are just making these guys really confident and comfortable in being around the area. But the trouble is that probably is not by any means the smallest ones that are down there. And I would not be surprised if the ones smaller than that are outnumbering the fish of that size and bigger, because I'm just having to sit here and let them peck away at these maggots. You what, mate? Nah, mate, not really. Nah. I'm just having to let them peck away at the maggots, and then they're stripping it off before a fish of that size even has a chance to pick them up. I could put a size 20 on. Stick a size 20 hook on here, a single maggot, and bang all these small ones out. But then what happens if, by any chance, you do hook a decent sized chub, or you do hook a decent sized perch? I don't really want to be hooking fish like that on a hook that's a size 20. I feel much more confident using a size 12. It just gives me that little bit of wiggle room with something that might be a bit bigger. Here we go again. Anything smaller is exactly what the problem has been today. Chub of this size. Even the ones that we've had prior to this have been bigger than this one. But if there's hundreds and hundreds of these down there, you can understand why the maggots are just getting stripped off the hook constantly. But we will carry on and be persistent. Maybe it was my mistake of putting that ground bait out. Maybe that just attracted all them little chub. But you would think that with all them little chub, the perch would be down there having a field day. Possibly, maybe, just as a thought, maybe the chub being a slightly more streamlined fish. You know, even if you look at its front end, it's very pointy, almost like a torpedo. That they just have an easier time of it in the flow. Whereas your perch is a bit more bulky. Maybe they just struggle a bit more when it comes to a slightly faster flowing river. But it is definitely not my imagination. We have had, apart from that hybrid, nothing but chub. So at least we know why we're not getting as many fish. And it seems to be because the perch are not about. Which kind of cheers me up a little bit, because you know, I know for a fact that a perch would be happy in the winter to take a bait. It's usually a fish of choice for carp anglers when winter comes in. Oh, I thought for a minute I had another one. They're that small, it's hard to tell the difference between the weight of one of them or just the weight of your feeder. That might be a bit too far out in that flow. We'll soon find out. Getting them jerky bites straight away. I feel midges now starting to try and attack my face. Might have to go into full stealth mode in a minute. I've got ear rodders. Anytime you went to bed, just grabbing a snack before you go. Gone very quiet again. So what's happened here? Have I got no maggots left or something? Is it tangled up or something? Got one maggot left. And that is not looking at its finest. They are coming off. Jesus, bright out here. Might lead to something a bit better here. Actually, not bad at all. Question is, what is it? I'm gonna need to net it, that's for sure. Oh no! Oh! Again! Again! I do not believe that. The day that we've had today, struggling through these tiny fish. It didn't snap me up, it just spat the hook out. If I had a couple of sizes bigger, I think that was a really nice perch. I cannot believe that. I cannot believe that. That was, I mean, I think it was a perch. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. It feels like line could be slightly frayed, probably from the rough scales of the perch. That would have been the biggest perch I've had so far this year, easy. He was leaving some nice swell marks in the water. I think what I'm going to do now, with this line being frayed, like it is, maybe just swap over to a bigger hook and see if we can't get a bigger perch in.
12 o'clock midnight.
I am getting mosquitoes to the face. Stealth mode activated. Are you fucking kidding me? Huh? Well, I'm literally sitting here saying that if we get a tiny chub, it's not going to be able to deal with that hook. And of all things, I'm just sitting here thinking, I haven't even had any small twitches on that. And well, the tiny chub haven't took that hook, but this tiny little gudgeon somehow has managed to take a size 10 with 7 maggots on it and still get hooked just in the corner of the mouth. So fair play to this little guy. Second gudgeon that I've caught so far this year.
Later that same evening.
And it's been a good couple of hours now under the cover of darkness. We had that gudgeon. That was about an hour ago. And I haven't even had the twitchy bites since. So, I think we're going to have to call it today. But, what can we take away from the day? I suppose we've learnt a lot. We've learnt that when the river's up and it's flowing high, then it seems like the perch don't want to play ball when the conditions are like this. But the chub seem to be more than happy to. So, nothing on the pike rod as well, which is again something that we've learned. So, if we're down here and the conditions are like this again, it's probably best to still stick to the maggots on the feeder because it just makes sense to do so. But maybe keep the predator rod instead of going on the pike, keeping it on something like the pellets or switching over to the meat and trying to get a bigger chub out. But I mean, of course, we had what I can only say was a perch. I can't guarantee that that was a perch. I didn't physically see it, but seeing the hook link afterwards and seeing that it was just slightly frayed above the hook says to me that it could only really have been a really nice perch, which again kind of teaches us something else, that just because the smaller perch aren't biting doesn't mean that you're not going to get one of them bigger perch come along, because after all, bigger perch do tend to be a bit more of a solitary fish rather than swimming around in big shoals like the smaller perch do. But apart from that, a pretty disappointing day today. We've been out here for a good solid 12 hours now, and with the handful of fish that we got, it weren't fantastic, was it? But I seem to be saying that in every episode, that it's just not fantastic, but today was especially hard. But we can kind of put that down to the fact that the river is right up there. It rained all week long, and the flow rushing through there was probably just too much and put a lot of the fish off. So until next time, guys, you know the score by now. I'd be Mark Payne. This be Taking on the Thames, and I will see you.